This is the eufy S1 Pro, and it takes everything you've seen from a robot vacuum and launches it to the next level. We've probably all seen or even owned a robot vacuum of some sort by this point. They've been out for a while, but really we haven't seen that much innovation in what they can actually do. We've had a few different leaps here and there, but it's been quite a while since we've taken that next leap. But the S1 Pro from eufy, I think finally does that. And when it comes to keeping your house clean, having a robot, that can help you do that, it comes in handy. Once you get used to having one of these, it's very hard to go back. And for me personally, right now we're doing some renovations in the house. So we have drywall dust kind of everywhere, especially on the floors. So having a robot vacuum that can actually keep up with that, well, it's important. And well, the S1 Pro does that. And this is, I think, leading the industry in a bunch of different ways, both from technology and design. In fact, this is the world's first robot vacuum that has real-time self-cleaning, which I'll talk about more in a second, but there's a lot of innovations here. So when eufy reached out to sponsor this video and, send this over for me to try, it had my eye for sure. It's hard to talk about this without first talking about the design, because it is a stark difference from anything else we've seen, both for the actual robot itself and for the cleaning station. And this was actually designed by people from DJI, and it's a Red Dot Design and IF Design Award winner, so there is some backing here. And with this, the UniClean station, which is the base station for the robot vacuum, this has everything you need built in. So it has water tanks for both clean and dirty water. It has a slot for detergent if you want that extra cleaning in the mopping cycle. And it has a dust bin where it can empty from the vacuum itself into this, so you don't have to change it every single time. So it has some of those great features that we've seen in other places, but in a very different and stark design. And up top, it has a screen that's super easy to use, so you can activate the robot vacuum to do whatever cycle you'd want right from this. And really the design idea here is that it's very ergonomic. So you don't have to really bend over to access everything. You can pick up, for instance, the clean water bin and go fill it up without having to bend over. That's kind of the idea here. It's a very sleek and ergonomic design. Now, the design doesn't stop with just the base station here. It also goes to the robot vacuum itself. And I think at first glance, it basically looks like any other you've seen before, but when you just think about it for a second, there's some pretty big changes here. And the biggest one for me is that it's a very slim profile. It has all these smart sensors that you are expecting, but they're not, sitting on top. So it can more easily fit in harder to reach areas and hopefully give you a better clean because of that. So the design, I think, hit it out of the park, and it's one of my favorite things about this. Now for me, in the last few years, what I've really been interested with these products, or these types of products, is the mopping function, because that is something that is just so tedious to do on your own. It's kind of a pain. So having a robot that could do it for you and actually do it well, I mean, it's interesting to say the least. And this, I think, is doing it the best that we've ever seen. So on the bottom, this has a rolling mop that spins, and that's how it cleans. So we've seen other ones that kind of rotate. We've seen some that just pulse. This spins and, is able to clean really effectively. So you can see from this before and after that it can pick up really any mess you can think of, and it does it very well on the first try. And there's a few reasons why it can do that so well. So this can actually clean itself while it cleans. In the past, we've seen other products that can go back to the base station and clean itself. This can do it all in the mopping cycle itself, so it doesn't have to keep going back to the base station. And basically what it does is, as that is spinning and collecting whatever's on your floor, it then uses fresh water, which is in a tank inside the robot, and is able to clean the mop as it spins. So basically, sweeps up something dirty, cleans itself, and is now clean again to keep sweeping and mopping up. And beyond that, this is a very long rolling mop, so it can actually clean a bigger area, which is more efficient. So not only will it clean your house faster, but it could just do it in a better way. And because of all of this, it uses less water, it's more efficient, and it just gives you a better clean. And I mean, really, the results don't lie. You can just see how easily it picks it up, especially compared to a more traditional system that kind of spreads everything around. This really does clean. Now, after it is done doing its, mop cycle, it'll go back to the base station, empty the dirty water into the tank so you can empty it yourself. And you can see here, tons of dirty water was picked up. But once it's done, it will then meticulously clean the mop head itself so that it, doesn't develop any odors or doesn't have any bacteria on it. And then it will use 131-degree heated air to dry the mop head so that it's not sitting there and developing mildew or mold or anything like that. The goal here is really a clean and sterile experience. Now, mopping, great, but it's just one side of it. There's also the vacuuming on the other end, which is something I use just as often, actually more often than the mopping feature. But this features 8,000 pascals of suction, so it's one of the higher ones on the market. So it can really pick up anything on your floor from, pet hair, dust, debris, anything you drop, it should be able to pick it up. And on the bottom, there is a floor detector, so it can know what kind of floor it is on. So it can adjust the suction levels for the better clean, like, compared to hardwood or carpet. And it can also lift the mop out of the way if it's going on carpet so that it won't, get it wet or anything. And there's an anti-tangle brush. And again, once this is done vacuuming and it's ready to go back to the base station, it will empty into the base station. So you don't really have to think about it. That dust collection bag will last weeks. Now, all of this is possible thanks to the smarts that are built in. Like I mentioned up front, it has things like a LiDAR sensor, it has cameras, which I'll talk about more in a second. But when you look at the vacuum, it doesn't really seem like they are there. It kind of seems like it's missing, but it is there. And again, it means it can go into other areas that other vacuums might not be able to because of that slim design, but it still has all the tech built in that you would need. So this has RGB plus active binocular infrared cameras built in. So that means it can see in stereoscopic vision, and it has infrared and RGB. So it can really get the best lay of the land possible and, determine what it is in front of it. And it also emits 300,000 dots with millimeter precision every 8 seconds. So this is giving you great mapping of your real world environment. And so it generates a 3D model of whatever is in front of it so that you get the optimal cleaning path possible. So that just means it'll be able to get closer to things like table legs or chair legs, and it will be able to get a more effective clean without having to kind of bump into it, even though, that can still be used with the bump sensor, but it just gives you a more effective path for cleaning. And on the processing side of that, it can do a bunch of things too. So of course it will map your home or your area and remember that. So every time it can just, get the most effective clean, and you can see all this in the app and set it up, but it will also adjust based on what is going on in your home. So, let's say you moved a chair across the room or moved a table or something, this can see that and dynamically optimize to, find the best path without you having to remap or anything like that. It'll figure it out on its own, and it'll remember that so that, let's say you move the chair back later, it'll just go back to what it remembered. And it uses the time of flight LiDAR to kind of determine all of that in real time, and it determines for the most efficient cleaning pattern. And this actually will clean the center of your room and then the edges rather than the opposite, which most other robot vacuums and mops will do. So yeah, that is the eufy S1 Pro. And this is by far now my favorite, all-in-one robot vacuum and mop. The mopping action truly is the best I've used, and the vacuum, has plenty of suction and really cleans your house well. And I'm impressed by how little water it's able to use, how great it is at navigating around. It's great. And if you want to pick one of these up for yourself right now, if you go over to Kickstarter, you can get 40% off. 40. That is a huge savings and absolutely worth it.